Another Republican candidate has joined the gubernatorial race. We're taking a look at what's ahead for the 2026 election year. Plus, it's been 6 years since the last government shutdown. We're 12 days into this one. See how this could leave a lasting effect. And from professional development to absenteeism, find out what's happening with Arizona public schools. It's all that and more this evening on Broomhead. Welcome, I'm Mike Broomhead. Before we jump into tonight's interviews, let's take a look at some of the top stories. Let's start with the Arizona Cardinals coach Jonathan Gannon fined $100,000 for putting his hands on a player. Now, we all understand the frustration. It was the worst loss in Cardinals history, but you can't put your hands on a player, even when the player fumbles going into the end zone after a 70-yard touchdown run. The coach, to his credit, apologized the very next morning, said he addressed it in the team meeting. The player accepted the apology, and it was all over. But I believe that the league was going to intervene. I think when you put your hands on a player, it's on national television. The league intervenes. I think the Players Association was going to get involved. So the Cardinals said, we've levied a big fine. We handled it in-house, and that stops this, and it all ends there. I think that's the best way for this to end, is in-house, put a period, and try to salvage this season. That's what the Cardinals need to do. Let's stick with football. The Super Bowl halftime show. Bad Bunny. I had to ask who that was. I'm just being honest. I don't know who Bad Bunny is. Controversy because he's been very outspoken about being anti-ICE. Both sides are overreacting. But in the end, I think it proves this. At my age, at 58 years old, I'm not the target demo, and I'm okay with that. They're catering to a younger audience. I wish there wasn't politics involved. I wish he wasn't as outspoken as he is, because I don't think sports has any room, or politics has any room in sports. We should be talking about what's happening on the field and celebrating a great act at halftime. It has nothing to do with his stance. It has everything to do with not wanting politics involved in sports. I go to sports to take a break from politics. I think most people do. Coming up, the 2026 gubernatorial race is heating up, with the Republican primary now hosting 3 major candidates. What's ahead for the upcoming election? We're talking to a roundtable next. It's important to recognize and thank the fine Arizona men and women who are serving in our country's military. One of the ways we like to do that is through a segment called From Arizona for America, brought to you by my good friends at Sanderson Ford. So join me in honoring Damage Controlman Fireman Vincent Burgo, a native of Glendale, Arizona. He's assigned to the Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer USS Milius, stationed in Yokozuka, Japan. For a list of more of our friends and neighbors that are from Arizona for America, go to the Broomhead tab at cw7az.com. All right, election season in Arizona, it's just like our summers, it never ends. And so here we are to talk about the governor's race that is over a year out with Chuck Coughlin and Stacey Pearson. Thanks. It's always great to see both of you.
It's good to see you.
Miss us.
I do. I actually do. I actually do. I do. And then 5 minutes is all I need.
Circus.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So let's talk about the governor's race. I want to start with the Republican primary. I lost a bet when I was asked, is David Schweikert going to jump into the race? I said, no way Schweikert's jumping in the race.
I would have lost that with you.
I would have lost it too.
So let's talk about, now that he's in, how much does it change it?
I don't think much. I really don't think it changes it much. I just think most of Mr. Schweikert's frustration relies in Washington, and he just was not feeling fulfilled at all in that role anymore. And so he was done. And I was looking for any out card. I think he was looking for the Trump administration maybe to do him some solid. They weren't going to do it because they want him to run. And he's like, no, I'm not going to run. So I'm now in the governor's race. His lane, Bob Robb wrote a column about this today. His lane thinks it's some Reaganite type old school Republican. Not enough of those left. You got MAGA. You got some of those folks. And Karen's after some of the Karen Taylor Robson's. There's just not a lane there for him.
If he's a smart guy, he's been around for a long time, he's got good, smart people around him, someone's got to be advising him, and he's got to believe that he can win, or he wouldn't have gotten in. Isn't that right? I mean, so what's...
No.
You don't think that's true?
No.
Candidates do what candidates want to do, much to our chagrin, as we're advising them often.
See how ignorant I am of your world. I thought if you're paying good money for good people.
Oh, no.
They're not. He's got one consultant who's, Chris Baker, smart guy.
Very. Yeah.
But, Chris is going to tell him what he wants to hear.
Okay.
And David wants to run. I mean, David's done. And so, go ahead, go do it.
So I want to stay on the governor's race for the most of this, but then what does this do to CD1? Because they're spending millions and they haven't been able to beat Schweikert, but that doesn't mean that another Republican's going to be plug and play and going to win that. I live in that district. It is as purple a district as it gets, isn't it?
You can announce right here.
No, not a chance.
Oh, this was announced.
Yeah,
this is so exciting. Thank you for bringing us in on this. What's important to note is that Schweikert won by about 16,000 votes in a district that had almost 60,000 more Republicans than Democrats. So he underperformed last November in a red wave year. That does not translate particularly well for the rest of the state, where he has low name ID. If you go to Yuma, nobody's worked with him, nobody's heard about him. So he really did underperform.
How much of that is because of the millions that were spent against him? How much of that is the ad campaigns where the messaging, if there are people that are voters don't know him very well and they're hearing some of it, is that part of it?
It's a great question, but he also underperformed 2 years prior.
Okay.
So with a guy that the Democrats didn't invest in. We had Jevin Hodge. No one paid any attention. They thought that Schweikert was a shoo-in to win re-elect, and he underperformed. He barely beat Jevin Hodge, and I think most Democrats would have a hard time picking that guy out of a lineup today.
He's been around a long time, right? I mean, he's been around since the 2010 cycle. That's many cycles. The shoes get a little worn down up there.
Okay.
So this is an opportunity for somebody new to step in. And maybe, as she says, he's underperformed. Maybe somebody else can overperform or at least perform with the numbers in the cycle.
So what does this do for Governor Hobbs? Not necessarily these three candidates, but she's going to have to run a campaign differently. She refused to debate Kari Lake. She said, I'm not buying into the crazy. But she's not going to be able to do that now. Do you think she's looking forward to a debate with any of these candidates? Does it change her approach?
Well, I think it depends on who comes out of the primary. I mean, I think Schweikert is probably the least tinfoil hat wearing of the three candidates, right?
I'm sitting right here.
Well, my hat. It's right there. I can go grab it.
But I do think an Andy Biggs debate, when Andy Biggs has defended insurrectionists, he's voted against 9/11 funding, I think the governor would perform extraordinarily well there. I mean, she is not a screamer, yeller, bang your fists on the table person, but that's okay. Voters are still supporting her. That's a good question. I mean, Robeson, in her flip-flops of where she used to be and her criticisms of Trump to where she is today, I think Robeson's going to have to account for the shift.
It's going to be a hard race for the governor in any environment.
For both sides.
Yeah, with whatever she runs, because here's the deal. The last general election cycle, the presidential election cycle, was supposed to be like a 3% Republican turnout advantage, meaning more than 3% more Republicans turned out than Democrats. Turned in at 9, hence why Schweikert won with 17,000 votes last time. And so plus 9 in a presidential cycle that's supposed to be younger, because off cycles get older and more Republican, you're looking at a double-digit Republican participation advantage. Paul will allow me to say at least 11, but it could be 14 or 15. That's a big hill for her to overcome. And whoever that opponent is has a lot going for him. But, you know, I would agree with her that Biggs has probably the most room to be able to pivot to a more centrist position to give him an electable path.
I'm out of time for this segment. Promise me you'll come back to do it again.
Oh, absolutely. Come on. You know, I'm absolutely in.
We'll be back. Coming up, it's been a week and a half since the U.S. government shut down. When will it end? And what will the lasting effects be? We're back with the roundtable when Broomhead returns. All right, we're back. Want to talk a little bit about the implications of the shutdown. I think that more than anything else. I want to run a theory by you, and then first tell me how wrong I am. My fear is what we do as voters is we wring our hands about the shutdown. They end the shutdown eventually. We think it's a victory. And then we don't worry about the budget. We don't worry about anything beyond that. We're just glad the shutdown's over, and we never get anything done on the budget. And I think that's on both sides of the aisle. Am I right or wrong?
I agree. And certainly the deficit is a national security issue at this point. It needs to be addressed.
So as the shutdown goes, is it the political pressure that ends it eventually for one side or the other that caves in? Is it political pressure that at this point everybody's kind of grandstanding and it has to end with the one that has the most pressure? Or am I wrong about that?
I think that's probably true. My read on it is the most pressure is going to come on the Republicans to reopen government because they hold all the cards. I mean, literally, they have to know going into the negotiation that they need to give these Democrats something, and they're not giving them anything. And so it's not unreasonable position, particularly for a Democrat representing the Democratic Party, to say, I want something for my vote. And they're saying, no, we're not going to give you anything.
So then address what they've all been doing, and I've been playing it, when now we've got the audio of Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid and Hakeem Jeffries saying over and over again, you can't hold the government hostage to get your way on something that you want. But now it appears the Democrats are doing exactly that. How do they defend that?
They defend it by not having a majority in the House or the Senate or having the White House. And ultimately, the Republicans in the United States Senate could push the nuclear button, drop the filibuster, and pass their policy. And then they would be held accountable when insurance premiums skyrocket. They don't want to do this. That is not going to be a good position to be in to get reelected if you're a Republican.
But do you think after now the tables turn, because the fight that was going on when Senator Sinema left because she refused to end the filibuster and Republicans said we've got to keep the filibuster, aren't they going to get hammered if they now push that nuclear button and do that?
It's almost like Sinema predicted that somebody else should kill this thing, right? That it shouldn't be Democrats. I supported Sinema's decision then because Democrats were not always going to be in power. We were not always going to have the majority, and I support it now. If the Republicans want to go, go.
I may be wrong about this, but this is the way I look at it. Trump was holding out for the border, for a border wall and things that were sort of existential in the world. I need to complete my border wall. This is not an existential debate for Democrats anymore. There's clearly a rate increase that will happen absent them doing something. It will happen.
So the Republicans are saying, and I'm going to look at you when I say this, they're saying, yes, we should negotiate about this, but we can't negotiate it when the government is closed. We should open the government and have good faith negotiations.
It hasn't worked for our party. It's the, fool us once, shame on.
But it hasn't worked for either party.
It hasn't worked for either party.
Dick Nixon pointed out, you never win anything at the negotiating table. You don't win on the battlefield.
Okay.
The battlefield is the budget. I mean, and the battlefield is right there. So do you acquiesce and say, oh, yeah, I'll trust you. You're a good dude. I'll come to an agreement with you.
That's a nice handshake.
Yeah.
So the letter that was written by the Republican delegation in the House, Siscomani came on my show and talked about it, saying these are the bad things that are happening to Arizona if our senators, who are both Democrats, don't become yes votes. And then Senator Gallego came back and said, I'm here, you're not. Who wins that PR battle?
Senator Gallego is right. He is there. The Democrats went back, be it the House or the Senate. The Democrats are there waiting for the Republicans to return.
But they're not getting anything done. The Republicans in the House already passed a clean CR.
Right. They did pass the clean CR, but the Democrats are holding out for something that does matter. I mean, it's why we're seeing Marjorie Taylor Greene peel off from her party and say that we need to address the healthcare costs. I mean, I did not bet on that.
I was going to say, I would never have bet that you would quote MTG in one of your arguments.
No.
Hey, man, it's a weird world we're living in.
It's a crazy world.
It's a weird world.
I'm rooting for her. I never would have done that. I don't know what's happening.
The other thing that's happening is, you're losing FEMA funding. I mean, the people up in Globe, they're going to count on that FEMA funding to come through to bail them out of this situation. That's not going to happen. So, I mean, the pressure is going to continue to ramp up on the majority to get something done.
All right. I appreciate the time, as always. It's a fun conversation.
Thank you.
We'll be back. Coming up, from changes to professional development to chronic absenteeism, we're sitting now with Tom Horne, taking a look at what's going on in Arizona public schools. That's next. Here's a look at some upcoming events that should be on your radar. First up, Funny Business, Photography and Humor, a new exhibit at Phoenix Art Museum, open until January 4th, 2026. The exhibit is available to view with a general admission ticket. Then, Black Jacket Symphony presents AC/DC Back in Black, happening on Tuesday, October 21st at Mesa Arts Center. Tickets can be purchased at mesaartcenter.com. Welcome back. Education, always a big topic on the show with people here in Arizona. Joining us, Superintendent of Public Instruction, Tom Horne. Always good to see you.
It's great to be on your show, always. As I said earlier, it's a good day when I'm interviewed by Mike Broomhead.
I appreciate that. I want to talk about a few things in education that have been big headlines.
Yes.
One of them has to do with professional development. We understand teachers' pay and support are two of the biggest reasons why they leave the profession.
Right.
So what are the goals and what are we doing about professional development for educators?
We are doing a lot of seminars for them. We get huge crowds. We get very high marks when they evaluate the seminars. When I took office this term around, which was 2023, we established a new division for professional development, and they started off with principals. And at the end of the seminar, they would ask, "Would you recommend this to others?" Well, 95% said yes. So the word got around. So they had to start scheduling more and more, many more than they intended to. A lot of times I go by his office and he's not there, he's teaching. And they've expanded it to teachers and to school board members. Actually, the school board members, 100% said they would recommend it to others.
When you look at professional development in any industry, I think young people in an industry want to learn more and be better at their craft.
Yes.
The mentoring matchup with an experienced teacher and with younger teachers has got to be invaluable.
Absolutely, and we have a new program where somebody wants to be a teacher but didn't go to education school. They apprentice to a teacher who serves as a mentor for them. If they have a college degree, it's a one-year program. If they have no college degree, it's a four-year program. They go to college at the same time, nights and weekends, and we pay for it. And the whole idea is that mentoring is the best way to create good teachers.
Let me ask about absenteeism, because that's been in the news, the high levels of absenteeism, chronic absenteeism. In your opinion, what's the best way to address that?
The best way to address it is, that we found, is the Dysart School District. And they don't have, a lot of the studies that are done have kind of soft things that they recommend, be in touch with the parents, stuff like that. Dysart did it differently. If you miss 8 classes in a semester or 16 in a year, elementary school you repeat the grade, high school you don't get credit for the courses you took during that semester. And that has had a tremendous impact. High school absenteeism is 37, chronic absenteeism, 8 or 16, is 37%, and for them it's 8%.
In Dysart?
At Dysart, yeah. So this is the way we used to do things, and before our culture got so easy.
I remember truant officers when I was in school.
Yeah,
we were always worried about a truant officer catching you if you skipped school.
Exactly, yeah. Well, and we held a joint news conference with the sheriff to emphasize that police have the same powers that truant officers do. So they see someone hanging on the street corner, they should be at school, they need to inquire with it. We have to solve absenteeism. We cannot teach kids who aren't there. If 37% of high school kids are gone for 8 days in a semester or 16 in a year, they're facing bleak futures because we can't teach them when they're not there. So it's important to solve it, and I'm very anxious to persuade the other districts to copy what Dysart did.
I have about a minute left, and I know it's a passionate topic for you, which is English language learners or dual language learners. How are we addressing this? What is the best way to get kids that are not proficient in English proficient so their education moves forward?
Structured English immersion. That is the best way. The worst way is bilingual or dual language. When I took office, we had an initiative passed by the voters to say they have to be in structured English immersion. My 2 predecessors didn't enforce it. I was the first to enforce it. We took the percentage that become proficient in English in 1 year from 5% to 31%. At 5%, a lot of them never become proficient. At 31%, they all become proficient in 3 or 4 years. And it's the law. And we've got 10 districts that are defying the law, and I've sued them.
I appreciate the time. It's a topic that's become more of a passion for me, and we appreciate your work on it, and we appreciate the information today.
Thank you, Mike. I love being your show. Have me on as much as you want.
Thanks. We'll be right back. Every Sunday here on Broomhead, we ask a new poll question. This week's question is, do you think the NHL should return to the Valley? All you have to do is head over to cw7az.com/Broomhead to respond to the poll question. Thank you for joining us this week. We'll see you next Sunday on Broomhead.